In this video, we will be covering the topics of climate change, the effect of a warmer atmosphere, how we can slow climate change, and ozone depletion.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. The little birdie told me you want to learn about chapter 19. You came to the right place. This is
Section 19.1. How might the Earth's temperature and climate change in the future?
temperature and climate have been changing throughout Earth's history. Natural climate shifts have occurred due to volcanic emission changes in solar input, continents moving on shifting plates, meteor strikes, and other factors. For the past 900,000 years, the atmosphere has gone through many periods of alternating cycles of freezing and thawing known as glacial and interglacial periods. Geological records and atmosphere measurements provide a wealth of information about past atmospheric temperatures and climate. Sediment cores are also analyzed for pollen, fossils, and other clues about ancient plant types. Oh hey there. A natural process called the greenhouse gas effect warms the lower troposphere and surface. Light energy from the sun enters our Earth's atmosphere. Some of the energy is reflected back into space, and some of it is absorbed. Different features of the surface of our planet reflect or absorb the energy differently. The absorbed energy is converted into heat energy. A layer of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere prevents the heat from escaping. As a result of the greenhouse gas effect, the Earth's surface temperature is much warmer than it would be without it. Oh hey, I didn't see you there. 4 major greenhouse gases in the lower atmosphere are water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Since the Industrial Revolutions, humans have increased the greenhouse gas levels in the troposphere at a rapid rate by the use of fossil fuels, farming, use of inorganic fertilizer, and burning forests. Burning of fossil fuels has generated much of the CO2 increase. Deforestation and clearing grasslands release CO2 and N2O. Increased cattle raising and other livestock has added methane release. Use of inorganic fertilizers and rice cultivation releases N2O into the troposphere. Yes, Mr. President, I agree. The CO2 emissions are crazy, man. Quick question, is it a potluck or is it catered? I mean, I don't know. Michelle always switches it up on us. Catered? Okay. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Obama problems. The countries with the highest emissions of CO2. First is the United States, second is China, and third is the European Union. The International Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, was formed to evaluate possible climate changes. Many of the findings of the IPCC support the scientific consensus that the troposphere is very likely getting warmer. There is evidence that the Earth's troposphere is warming, mostly because of human actions. For example, the 20th century was the hottest century in the past 1,000 years. The 10 warmest years since 1861 have occurred since 1990. Not only this, but the world's average sea level rose 10 to 20 centimeters in the last century. It's not ready yet. A number of natural and human influence factors might amplify positive feedback or dampen negative feedback projected changes in the average temperature of the troposphere. Oh, sorry, I'm making my album. The oceans can absorb large amounts of CO2, but there are problems associated with the absorption. The warmer the water gets, the less soluble it is to gases like CO2, and as global warming increases, this phenomenon will decrease. The additional CO2 increases the acidity of the ocean, which harms marine life, especially coral reefs.
98, 99, 100. Oh my god. Sorry about that. One of the largest unknowns in global warming is the change in distribution of clouds. Additional clouds may have a warming effect, and several factors will affect the net result of more cloud cover, such as the amount of water vapor in the troposphere, whether clouds are thin or thick, coverage, altitude of the cloud, size and number of water droplets, or ice crystals formed in the clouds. Aerosol or particulate pollutants and soot can warm or cool the troposphere. Global dimming refers to the idea that particulates in the atmosphere can slightly shade the Earth and reduce the amount of solar energy reaching the Earth's surface. Scientists hypothesize that pollution can dim sunlight. Not dimming sunlight like making it dark outside, it's something completely different. Phenomena of pollution dimming sunlight will decrease as particulate pollution standards are enforced.
Section 19.2. What are some possible effects of a warmer atmosphere?
Give me that. A rapid increase in the temperature of the troposphere during this century would give us little time to deal with its harmful effects. Local weather may not change as obviously as global climate. Many scientists fear a tipping point, which severe climate changes cannot be prevented. Ecosystems will be ruined, and a lot of the harmful effects will be too far progressed to come back from. Global warming refers to the temperature increase in the troposphere, which can cause climate change. And global climate change is a broader trend that refers to changes in any aspects of Earth's climate. Weighing 732 pounds, Saya Andrews. Alright.
Severe droughts can accelerate global warming and can lead to more droughts. A severe lack of water, growth of trees, and other plants will slow. Less CO2 taken out of the atmosphere. In addition, more forest and grass fires will add CO2 to the atmosphere. Groundwater lakes and rivers will be depleted. The melting of some of the world's ice means that less sunlight is reflected back into space and helps warm the troposphere further. Increasing temperature tends to be greater in the polar regions. Scientists consider these areas as early warning sentinels of changes in the average temperature of Earth's troposphere. Loss of frozen water means the loss of reservoirs of water for warmer months of the year. Many global populations rely on this meltwater for drinking. Sea levels are very likely to rise during this century. The projected rise in sea level is about 18 to 59 centimeters, but higher amounts are possible. 2/3 of this rise is the result of thermal expansion of warm water. Harmful effects of this rise in sea level include threatening half the world's estuaries and wetlands and coral reefs, disruption of many of the world's coastal fisheries, flooding of low-lying islands, and gently sloping coastlines will erode and retreat inland. Another dangerous scenario is the melting of the Arctic permafrost. As Arctic temperatures increases, permafrost melts and the organic matter in soils and lake bottoms decomposes, releasing CH4, a greenhouse gas.
Global warming could alter ocean currents and cause excessive warming in some parts of the world and severe cooling in others. This will be an issue because oceans help moderate the Earth's average surface temperature. Changes in the hydrologic cycle may affect global precipitation patterns. It may result in regional warming or cooling because of changes in the movement of ocean currents and air masses. Global warming will lead to changes in precipitation and weather extremes, which we experience on a daily basis here in Chicago. Certain areas will be prone to prolonged heat waves and droughts, while other areas will experience prolonged heavy rains and increased flooding. A warmer troposphere will cause changes in biodiversity by altering the distribution and population sizes of wild species, shift locations of ecosystems, and threaten some protective reserves and coral reefs. Climate change will shift the areas where crops are grown. Food production may increase in some areas and decrease in others. Warmer temperatures could shift growing areas farther north. Less fertile soils in these areas may reduce food production. Global warming will threaten human health by increasing deaths from heat stroke,
malnutrition and starvation from the disruption of food supplies, increased flooding, the spread of tropical diseases to temperate areas, more insects, microbes, toxic molds, and fungi.
Section 19.3. What can we do to slow climate change? Climate change is hard to deal with because it has many causes. Its effects are uneven and long-term, and there's a disagreement over what should be done. Here are some things we should all agree on. The problem is global. The pollutants are all but invisible, and the problem is only apparent as there are gradual changes over a long period of time, and the effects will last just as long.
You straight from the shy. It's today's edition of Jeopardy! With your host, Crowd the God. Let's meet our contestants. First contestant, 6'5", 732 pounds. It's Saya, the Machine Goldberg, and Mariko Dennis. All right, first question for $500,000. Dollars.
Here we
Can increased solar activity be the cause of recent temperature increases? Mariko.
No, since 1975, the troposphere has warmed while the stratosphere has cooled. A hotter sun could cause the entire atmosphere to warm.
That is correct.
We can remove and store some CO2 by doing things such as planting trees that will store CO2 in biomass, reduce the release of CO2 and nitrous oxide from soil, remove CO2 from smokestacks and pump it deep underground or inject it in the deep ocean.
Many countries, states, cities, companies, schools, and individuals are reducing their greenhouse gas emissions, improving energy efficiency, and increasing their use of carbon-free renewable energy. The ultimate goal of many is to become carbon neutral, a balance between the amount of carbon released in the atmosphere and the amount sequestered or removed from the atmosphere.
Section 19.4. How have we depleted the ozone in the stratosphere, and what can we do about it?
Welcome to my MTV crib. The ozone layer is concentrated in the stratosphere, and it absorbs about 95% of harmful UV radiation. Less ozone in the stratosphere will allow more harmful UV radiation to reach Earth's surface. The overwhelming consensus of researchers that ozone depletion is a serious threat to humans, other animals, and some of the primary producers that support Earth's food. I had to slip into something a little more comfortable. During 4 months of each year, up to half the ozone in the stratosphere over Antarctica and a smaller amount over the Arctic is depleted. Ozone loss is often called the ozone hole, but is actually the ozone thinning. Increased UV radiation reaching the Earth's surface from ozone depletion in the stratosphere is harmful to human health, crops, forests, animals, and materials such as paints and plastics. Exposure to UV radiation is a major cause of skin cancers. To reduce ozone depletion, we must stop producing all ozone depleting chemicals. The Montreal Protocol is an international treaty that controls the production and consumption of chemicals that destroy the ozone layer. Its goal was to cut emissions of CFCs, mentioned before, by about 35% between 1989 and 2000. Representatives met again in 1990 and 1992 and adopted the Copenhagen Protocol, an amendment that strengthened and accelerated the phase out of key ozone-depleting chemicals.